Schools are actually a very rare existence in the world of pirates. Unlike the world where Zhao Shu is from, where various high schools and universities flourish, schools in the pirate world are very few and far between. In fact, the majority of people have never attended school. Zoro lives in the dojo all year round, spending his days either cutting straw with a bamboo sword or engaging in basic physical training. The same goes for Sanji, who, apart from his training in Germa, has been working and studying in the sea restaurant, making it clear that he cannot attend school. The three brothers, Luffy included, are no exception. Luffy was thrown to the mountain bandits since he was a child. Bandit education, huh? Ace is also similar. Sabo, on the other hand, comes from a noble family and had a private tutor, but other than that. Has anyone attended school? Perhaps some may think that just because it's not mentioned in the original work doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Otherwise, how would these people know how to read and write? However, Zhao Shu has been in the pirate world for some time now, and he hasn't seen many schools. The Marines have their training camps, which can be considered as schools. The Revolutionary Army also has training bases where people are taught literacy and combat skills. Robin comes from the archaeological island of Ohara, which should have specialized educational institutions, although Zhao Shu hasn't seen them. But other than that, he hasn't seen many schools. So, he decided to establish a school from the knowledge he has acquired himself. A school? Robin frowned. Honestly, I don't think this is a good idea. The Revolutionary Army has its own training base with a complete training system. We don't necessarily have to establish a school in the Goa Kingdom. The most important thing is that you only want to teach the basics and some knowledge, which won't be very useful for future battles. Indeed, Uchiha Madara, or rather Zhao Shu's proposed school, as completely different from the training camps in the pirate world or the ninja schools in the Hokage world. It is more like a school from the future, where they only learn subjects like language, math, science, and not combat. Of course, there will still be physical education classes. The future battles won't involve them, Uchiha Madara calmly said. The people cultivated by this school will be ordinary talents who can become government officials in the future, but not fighters. Government officials. Robin's mouth twitched. She wanted to say that government officials can also have combat abilities. Like herself, an archaeologist who may sound like a civilian, but can still take down several strong men. Yes, that's how it is in the pirate world, where even intellectuals can defeat many people. For example, Sabo in the future. His position is the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, but what he often does is throw the troops and plans aside and charge into the enemy alone. Marine is also similar. The strength of the chief of staff, he, is not much worse than admiral. With his experience, he can easily defeat several pirates without any problem. Staff officers like him shouldn't be gentle and weak, right? No. Both of them are like pirate-style staff officers. Even though they are staff officers, they often have a certain level of combat ability. But Robin didn't say anything because she also knew that not all staff officers have combat abilities. Like Spandam? Those who can't fight among the staff officers are basically trash. Those who are not trash must be very skilled in combat. Alright, I understand. I will make arrangements, Robin sighed. As for the safety of the talents cultivated by the school, she didn't say much. Protecting the entire Goa Kingdom and preventing the fighting from affecting it may sound exaggerated, but the boss in front of her actually achieved this. Anyway, the world government gave a lot of ransom, and it was all earned back by this boss. It wouldn't waste too much money to establish a school. Uchiha Madara nodded calmly. Robin acted quickly, and the school was established quickly. Many teachers were staff officers of the Revolutionary Army, and Robin herself served as the principal of the Goa Kingdom's first high school. By the way, that Goa Kingdom's first high school was named by Zhao Shu. The Goa Kingdom was the first territory conquered by the Revolutionary Army in the Four Seas and was recognized by the world government. Naturally, the Revolutionary Army mobilized many cadres to help the people of the Goa Kingdom rebuild their homes. With their help, the teacher problem was solved. And relying on the various good policies implemented by the Revolutionary Army in the Goa Kingdom and the solid foundation they had established, the Revolutionary Army began to recruit young boys and girls from the Goa Kingdom and threw them into the school. In Uchiha Madara's words, the reason why I fight is to prevent children from experiencing our pain and to give them a healthy childhood. Although it sounds a bit like what Senju Hashirama said, it is also a belief recognized by Uchiha Madara. After saying this, it even increased the authenticity. In short, after a series of efforts, the Goa Kingdom's first high school was finally established. Considering that the students have not received any formal education and that the Revolutionary Army has only been in power for a short time, there are still relatively few students enrolled. So currently, there are only a few classes in the first year. Goa Kingdom's first high school, Grade 1, Class 3. The innovative teaching methods, peculiar teaching system, and powerful teachers have made the new students excited. The boys looked excitedly at everything around them, admiring the powerful teachers. The girls were also curious about their surroundings, especially. A girl with a decent appearance saw a handsome boy next to her and couldn't help but strike up a conversation. "Hello. My name is Kapu Mai. We are in the same class. What's your name?" The slightly weak and handsome boy was stunned for a moment, then showed a gentle smile. "My name is Ito Makoto. Nice to meet you. What should we do if there is no suitable place for a template performance?" "Then let's create such a place. The school is Zhao Shu's masterpiece, and it is extremely easy to add an Ito Makoto to it." Makoto has a weak personality and a dark family environment. He inherited his father's irresponsible qualities. In simple terms, he is a scumbag playboy. Although it won't bring much enhancement to Zhao Shu, it doesn't require much effort anyway. Relying on his handsome appearance, the Ito Makoto played by Zhao Shu is very popular among women. In less than a day, even though the school has just been established, he has already made friends with 2/3 of the girls in his class. The remaining 1/3 of the girls didn't refuse to get to know him because they didn't want to, but because the scumbag comrades thought those girls weren't pretty enough, so they didn't deliberately pursue them. Makoto's life is indeed a happy one, Zhao Shu sighed. Perhaps in the world of One Piece, compared to shy daily life works, it is much more open and generous. In any case, many girls have established good relationships with Ito Makoto, without any shyness. Although there are no particularly outstanding girls in terms of appearance and figure, this situation, which is almost like entering a country of women, is definitely enviable. Even Zhao Shu feels the same. It's a pity that Ito Makoto's template is not very useful, otherwise I would really like to play him well. Zhao Shu shook his head. It's a shame. Even if the girl is not particularly beautiful, she can still be conquered. Only enter your body, not your life. After all, I am scumbag Makoto. It's not that I, Zhao Shu, don't want to take responsibility, it's just that the role setting doesn't allow it. Please understand. Of course, Zhao Shu has no intention of playing Ito Makoto for a long time. Although it is very happy, it doesn't align with his goals. Occasionally relaxing oneself and enjoying a campus harem life that is different from the world of pirates is fine, but playing the role for a long time is useless. Ito Makoto, who has no strength and even an average intellect, cannot bring any benefits to Zhao Shu. If it were Hito Kazuma, Zhao Shu would find an excuse to gain power and then take the opportunity to do various racing. But Ito Makoto is a different story. Uchiha Madara, Gilgamesh, Saitama's development is more important. Zhao Shu nodded. It's just about time to start acting. For Ito Makoto, let's leave it to the clone. Picking up girls is not a problem. Even if the violent factors from the world of pirates easily affect the school, or even the possibility of some bullying phenomenon, it is not a problem. After all, he is not only Ito Makoto, but also Uchiha Madara. Using some means casually is enough to smooth everything out. But there is still one problem that cannot be avoided. That Issa, if he wants to fully play the role, Ito Makoto will eventually be chopped by a wooden sword. Forget it, let the clone handle it. Unlike several fighting characters, Ito Makoto's daily actions can be maintained for a long time with just one clone. It's definitely not because Zhao Shu doesn't want to be next to a knife, it's just for convenience. Saitama has already added a lot of clones. When Zhao Shu was at Marine Base, he didn't just sit around. The clones he made during his free time are all left with Saitama. Uchiha Madara is also similar. Although the clones have been greatly consumed due to the constant harassment from the Marines, there are still many clones left from before. In addition to the clones Zhao Shu recently created, even if we include Ito Makoto's existence, it would be enough for a very long time. So, what's next? Since the great age of exploration, the waves in this sea have never diminished. But there is indeed one group of people who have been quiet for far too long. Hasn't our king's plan started yet? Zan Yu Hunter Caitlina Dapeng frowned. My sword hasn't tasted blood in a long time. Rain Shiryu touched the sword in his hand. The great Bacchus Jote didn't care and took a sip of wine. Having wine without blood is not satisfying enough. They are all extremely fierce pirates. Now that they have followed Gilgamesh, although they admit that he is a qualified leader, it's been too long since they had a break. This has already started to make everyone uncomfortable. After being trapped in prison for so long, they were finally released, but they're not doing anything? How can everyone adapt to this? They can endure for a while, but now they are almost at their limit. Suddenly, Doflamingo grinned and walked over from a distance. Doflamingo, you seem to be enjoying your time as a Shichibukai. Shiryu squinted his eyes. Yeah, we're just bored. Zanyu Hunter Caitlina Dapeng chuckled. Don't worry, Doflamingo laughed. I'm already prepared. We can move on to the next step. The next step? Upon hearing these words, everyone was momentarily stunned, and then a sinister smile appeared on their faces. Before they could say anything, a golden figure suddenly flashed by their side. It was Gilgamesh. Have you contacted your people? Gilgamesh's face was proud as he spoke. Yes, Doflamingo chuckled. Gaidi Korin has agreed to join your ranks. What we need next is a large amount of funds and a secure territory for his research and production. And I already have an idea for this territory. Do you want to hear it? Doflamingo grinned, his eyes narrowed. Gilgamesh remained calm as ever and said, as a king, I will naturally allow my subjects to offer advice. Is that so? Doflamingo smiled and didn't mind. However, a glint of cunning flashed in his eyes as he said, do you know a place called Dressrosa? Dressrosa is a tropical island kingdom in the New World, known as the country of love, passion, and toys. Of course, the toys part hasn't come into play yet. For now, it is still the country of love and passion. 800 or 900 years ago, this place was originally the territory of the Don Quixote family, who ruled as kings here. At that time, the dwarves were treated as slaves and forced to work as laborers underground, making Dressrosa prosperous. After the Don Quixote family left Dressrosa and joined the world government, becoming celestial dragons, the Riku family became the new royal family of Dressrosa. The king at the time apologized to the dwarves, abolished their slavery, and used the legend of the fairies to prevent humans from disturbing the dwarves. But because they lost the labor of the dwarves, the country became poorer than before. And now, a group of powerful pirates has arrived on this land. So, they definitely can't come up with 1 billion berries, Doflamingo sneered, and this place will once again be under the rule of the king. He paused in his words, his eyes flashing with a hint of strangeness. He actually wanted to say that this place would return to the rule of the Don Quixote family. But considering the man next to him, he changed his words. Dressrosa. Gilgamesh squinted his eyes, looking around. Honestly, compared to the prosperity of Dressrosa in the original work, the current Dressrosa is still lacking from an economic perspective. The surroundings are somewhat desolate, and the Riku family is not a particularly powerful presence. On his way here, Gilgamesh even casually killed a group of bounty-exceeding pirates. This is the new world. Pirate forces have always been fierce. Although Doflamingo seized this place and exploited the Riku family and the toys to the fullest, from an economic perspective, the national power has indeed increased. My king, rest assured. Doflamingo smirked. Once we take over this place, we can eliminate the surrounding pirates and establish discipline in the surrounding waters. At the same time, I have a considerable reputation and channels in the underworld, and I can fully develop Dressrosa. At that time, this place will definitely not be like this. Doflamingo's words were resolute, because he truly has the ability. As the most renowned figure in the underworld, as long as he guides Dressrosa to become a trading hub for the black market, he can just sit back and collect money. Black market trade may be covert, but the profits far exceed normal trade. Weapons, slaves, intelligence. Under Doflamingo's guidance, Dressrosa can easily dominate these trades. Gilgamesh seemed as if he hadn't heard anything, and continued walking forward. Shiryu of the Rain and the others behind him also didn't care, laughing and walking forward, completely disregarding Dressrosa and the Riku family. In fact, there was no need to pay attention. Doflamingo and his group can suppress the entire Dressrosa. There are already several people here who are no less powerful than Doflamingo. Why bother with the rest? With Doflamingo's plan and the support of his celestial dragon's background, there won't be any consequences. But even if we confront them head-on, there won't be any problems. At most, the follow-up process will be more troublesome. Dressrosa, but it's a member country of the world government. However, what will he choose in the end? Doflamingo squinted his eyes and looked at the front where Gilgamesh was. Will he choose my plan or go against it? Using Doflamingo's plan naturally requires putting himself, a celestial dragon, and the owner of Dressrosa, in the spotlight, and even nominally, Dressrosa needs to belong to Doflamingo. Should I use some means to make the world government clash with this monster? Doflamingo squinted his eyes, not speaking, nor paying attention to Gilgamesh's disregard, just walking straight ahead. Doflamingo also has the qualifications of a king and is not someone who would willingly submit so easily. Even though some of his subordinates have already started to accept their fate. My king, what do you plan to do? Doflamingo took a step forward and followed. I'm going to inspect my territory, Gilgamesh calmly said. No one paid much attention. Gilgamesh has a peculiar hobby of touring the world. Of course, in his words, it's touring my territory. But since the whole world is his territory, he basically walks around everywhere every day. The place where he rested before, he would often move around, and even when he saw something, he would take action. It's as if he really is the king of that place. Then let's go around as well. This will be our playground in the future. A powerful pirate laughed and spoke, and everyone nodded. Soon, everyone dispersed. Shiryu and Diamante went to the Colosseum. Bartolomeo and Cavendish went to find a bar. Doflamingo hesitated for a moment but still followed behind Gilgamesh. As they walked around, he discovered that Gilgamesh walked east, then west, and finally entered a casino. Gambling? Doflamingo's eyes narrowed slightly as he walked over. My king, do you plan to play? Gilgamesh nodded. Hearing this, Doflamingo said, if you want to play, the casinos here won't be able to gamble with your gold. To be honest, Doflamingo didn't know why their boss had so many treasures in his hands, a bunch of gold-made cups and wine pots. Even if everyone in the crew drank his wine using his cups, they still wouldn't finish them. But gold is useless in a casino, at the very least, it needs to be exchanged for berries. And during this time, he has become familiar with their boss. This boss likes gold treasures but has no interest in paper money at all. He didn't even bring a single berry. However, upon hearing this, Gilgamesh only paused for a moment and said, I, the king, am never short of money. Such an exaggeration. Doflamingo stood dumbfounded in the middle of the casino. In front of him was a pile of chips as high as a mountain. Gilgamesh yawned, while the dealer across from him was already sweating profusely. Although this dealer had already been replaced by 13 different people. No matter who it was, no matter how they cheated or used various means, as long as Gilgamesh placed a bet, it would always result in 100% victory. Even this was not relying on anything like listening or experience. He saw with his own eyes that before the dealer spun the roulette ball, Gilgamesh had already stated the result. And then, despite the dealer's best efforts, under various coincidences, it always turned out to be the number Gilgamesh wanted. This level of luck can no longer be described as luck, right? Doflamingo forced a bitter smile. The pile of chips in front of Gilgamesh was taller than a person, and they couldn't even fit on the table anymore, so they had to be placed on the ground. All the chips in the entire casino had been swept away, and if it weren't for Doflamingo standing behind him, it's likely that the people in the casino would have come to stop him. And the initial stack of chips, which was taller than a person, was just a low-grade chip that Gilgamesh picked up from the ground when he first walked in. I never lack money, these words echoed in Doflamingo's mind. He believed that Gilgamesh never lacked money. After all, people with power never lack money. This is too exaggerated. Golden rule, A. Gilgamesh possesses the fate of having fortune throughout his life, never being troubled by money, living a life of great wealth. This is Gilgamesh's inherent skill. In legends, Gilgamesh claims all the treasures in the world as his own. The original texts of all the treasures kept in the treasure vault. Although it seems to be an ability unrelated to combat, it plays a significant role in the form of equipping items. Or rather, his battles are just about spending money. One by one, treasures, one by one, equipment, allow him to come up with the perfect solution no matter where he is or what crisis he faces. That should be enough. Gilgamesh yawned and casually said, they should be done playing too. Let's start our plan. As for here, Doflamingo, you can handle the details. With that, he walked out of the casino. Doflamingo took a deep breath. In fact, it was almost as Gilgamesh estimated. Everyone had wandered around the kingdom of Dressrosa. Each person had found their favorite target. Basque Jote was interested in the wines produced by several wineries. Zhan Yu Hunter, Catherine Dapeng and Yora picked out clothes from several clothing stores. Even Shiryu had his own target. I heard that guy who has never been defeated in 3,000 battles is quite strong. Shiryu grinned, revealing a smile. The group of wealthy individuals walked towards the palace of Dressrosa with cold smiles, not bothering to hide their intentions. Naturally, they were stopped by the palace guards. Then he was directly pulled aside by Senor Picara under Doflamingo's command. Just with guards, do they really think they can stop this group of people? Impossible. And so, they continued straight ahead, and soon arrived at the palace. Inside the palace, Riku Dold III walked out with the support of many soldiers. Doflamingo? Why would a Shichibukai come to see me? I never expected that in this world, there would be those who ignore my existence and call themselves kings, Gilgamesh sneered. Riku Dold III glanced at him, then shifted his gaze back to Doflamingo. He was just a king, a competent one at that. He didn't know much about pirates, but he was somewhat familiar with the Shichibukai, especially Doflamingo's identity, which made him somewhat concerned. Of course, among this group of people, he only recognized Doflamingo. Don't look at me, I'm just a small pawn under our king, Doflamingo smirked. But I can tell you why we're here. Dressrosa, that's our target. They want to take over my kingdom? Riku's expression changed, but before he could speak, a soldier next to him couldn't help but interject. Who do you think you are, daring Toa? Riku's rule was relatively mild, and he provided various benefits, making him quite good compared to other kings. Naturally, there would be loyal soldiers like this. Bang! Before he could finish speaking, a large figure appeared in front of him. And then, a punch sent him flying. Bartolomeo said, "Don't interrupt at a time like this. We're not here for you, we're here for your king." "Don't say that," Gilgamesh calmly said. "Loyalty and righteousness go hand in hand. You can kill him, but don't insult him." Yes. Bartolomeo chuckled. Perhaps Bartolomeo's attitude was too arrogant, but Riku's charm was still effective. The soldiers surrounding Riku drew their swords when they saw their comrade being attacked, staring at the other side with a murderous intent. Bartolomeo and the others showed a hint of impatience in their eyes. They were all extremely powerful fighters, how could they tolerate the provocation of these ants? Doflamingo squinted his eyes and suddenly took a step forward. "Riku, judging by your expression, you should know my identity, right? And my power. So give this country back to me, As soon as these words were spoken, Bartolomeo and the others couldn't help but glance at him. Give the country back to him? That wasn't their purpose for coming here. Were they being played? For a moment, Shiryu and the others' eyes flickered with killing intent. To dare play with them, there would be consequences. Could it be that there would be infighting? Before King Riku could react, Shiryu and the others released their killing intent towards Doflamingo. Initially, members of the Don Quixote family, such as Trebol, hesitated and deliberated, but ultimately chose to stand with Doflamingo. Both sides were at a standoff. However, Doflamingo secretly sighed in his heart, that person named Gilgamesh has an incredibly strong charisma. After only a short time of contact, my subordinates still hesitated. The crew should stand with me. Doflamingo himself possessed a formidable charisma. Even in his childhood, Trebol and the others willingly joined him, obeying his commands and following his orders. He even brought devil fruit, the string fruit, to Doflamingo. Although Trebol and the others had their own ulterior motives, it was primarily Doflamingo's strong charisma that led them. But now, after decades of friendship, they still hesitated compared to Gilgamesh, who had only appeared a few months ago. This was because Doflamingo often made excuses to keep them away from Gilgamesh, not allowing them to have too much contact with him. Otherwise, the same went for the powerful individuals. Gilgamesh rarely killed civilians and even restrained others from causing trouble. On the other hand, Doflamingo took advantage of every opportunity, treating everyone to food and drink. However, when it came to crucial moments, the other party released their killing intent without hesitation. Doflamingo sighed lightly in his heart, but seemed unaware of the killing intent behind him. He said to King Riku, "If you refuse, Dressrosa will be stained with blood. But I am not a devil, so I offer a bid of 10 billion to sell this country to you. Of course, if you don't bid, this country will naturally belong to me, and then, it will be given to my king." At the end, Doflamingo turned the conversation around. Upon hearing those words, the killing intent from Shiryu and the others finally dissipated, and even Trebol and the others breathed a sigh of relief. They didn't want to fight Gilgamesh. Seeing their expressions, Doflamingo felt even more angry internally, but his outward appearance remained unchanged. Seeking Dressrosa was a plan he had set long ago. King Riku's governance in Dressrosa was excellent, at least among many kings, he was considered the best. Such a person would have a considerable amount of resistance even if forcibly taken by power, which would affect Doflamingo's control over the country. So his original plan was to force King Riku to offer 10 billion and buy this country. However, King Riku definitely didn't have 10 billion, so he had to raise money from the people. At the same time, Compromising with the pirates was a very embarrassing act for the royal family. As long as he threatened a little, King Riku would definitely keep it a secret. With his reputation over the years, he could easily borrow money from the people. Then, once Doflamingo obtained the money, naturally, he would control King Riku and make him slaughter the people, causing them to lose trust overnight. Using the name of the Don Quixote family and his formidable power, he could easily seize the throne. Although he had already been stripped of the title of Celestial Dragons, borrowing this name wouldn't elicit a strong reaction from the world government. This plan was indeed successful. In the future, the residents of Dressrosa trusted Doflamingo and his group, and all the resentment was borne by the Riku family. The country's economy developed rapidly, although it was built on the exploitation of the dwarves and the people turned into toys. However, now he has become a subordinate of Gilgamesh, so naturally he cannot become the ruler of Dressrosa. But as long as Gilgamesh agrees to his words here, when facing the world government, he will need him as a shield, so he still has a chance to become the king of Dressrosa. However, at this moment, boring. Gilgamesh's face remained calm as he disdainfully spoke. Doflamingo, I didn't expect you to be such a boring person. Anger flashed across Doflamingo's face, but he quickly suppressed it. He had already told Gilgamesh about his plan, of course it wasn't approved. And when he had just made a move that seemed like a betrayal. This arrogant man didn't even change his expression. Borrow money? Plan? Why play these tricks? Gilgamesh took a step forward and calmly looked at King Riku. Would you dare to talk to me? Although you were just a false king, you are still a man called a king. King Riku's face and expression changed, and in the end, he nodded heavily. Good. King Riku and Gilgamesh calmly walked into the palace's hall and asked everyone to leave. Shiryu and the others were not worried at all that something unexpected would happen to Gilgamesh, so they had an indifferent look on their faces. It was Doflamingo who furrowed his brows. What does he want to do? Why does he want to have a private conversation with King Riku? Why wasn't my plan approved? What does he want to do? Doflamingo looked at the closed palace gate and couldn't help but worry. Among Gilgamesh's group, he was actually nothing. There were at least 3 people who were on par with him in terms of strength, and he still hadn't seen Gilgamesh's limits. The only difference was that he had the title of a 7 warlords of the sea and could interact with the government. The government had also had some dealings with him in secret, but in terms of power, he was far behind. Doflamingo couldn't help but sink into deep thought, pondering Gilgamesh's intentions. Even during this time, when Luffy rushed back from the wilderness and fought with Shiryu, he didn't pay attention. After a while, the palace doors suddenly opened wide. Gilgamesh walked in front, and King Riku slowly followed. Then, he took a deep breath, and the first thing he said was, I have decided to submit to Gilgamesh and hand over Dressrosa to him. I have decided to submit to Gilgamesh and hand over Dressrosa to him. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone in the audience could only describe their feelings with 2 words, confused and bewildered. What's going on? How did this situation come about? However, King Riku's face was serious, and he said to the guards, why haven't you put down your weapons and pay your respects to the new king? King, what is going on? Kairos, covered in blood, stared at the sky with his eyes wide open. Kairos was the legendary hero of the Dressrosa arena, with an incredible record of 3,000 undefeated battles. Later, he married Princess Scarlet of the Riku royal family, left the palace, and started a family, giving birth to Rebecca. Even though he had been living in hiding as Zero, when he heard the pirates attacking the palace, he rushed over without hesitation. As soon as he arrived, he immediately fought with Shiryu, covered in blood and with bloodstains all over his body. Kairos, how did you end up like this? King Riku frowned and then requested, my king, please heal him. Alright. Gilgamesh nodded and casually used his healing powers. For someone with countless treasures, this was not difficult. However, Kairos still had a look of shock on his face and asked in a daze, Father, why? Kairos, you must understand, I am old now. King Riku said in a deep voice, I have no sons, and my daughter does not have the qualities of a king. Are you saying that you want to take him as your son-in-law? Kairos was taken aback, but his reaction was not as intense as before. The Riku royal family only had 2 daughters. The eldest daughter, Scarlet, was married to Kairos, and the second daughter, Violet, would later join the Don Quixote family under the condition of protecting her father's life. For the Riku royal family, who had no male heirs, it was normal to find a son-in-law. Although this person in front of them was a pirate, his strength was extraordinary. King Riku's choice was surprising, but not entirely impossible. Upon hearing this, the others breathed a sigh of relief. So that's how it is, it makes sense now. Some lackeys even joked with their companions, our boss is amazing. He just had a chat with the king and managed to win the king's daughter. However, to everyone's surprise, King Riku himself seemed to be stunned after hearing their words. He then approached Gilgamesh. My king, I hope my daughter Viola can serve by your side as a maid. What do you mean? Gilgamesh's eyes instantly turned cold. A mere subject wants to order me around. Threaten me? No, you misunderstood. King Riku quickly shook his head and said anxiously, I just think that my king needs a maid, and she has the ability to serve by your side. If you don't believe me, you can let everyone compete for the position. King Riku said without hesitation, compete? Compete to be a maid? Everyone's faces were filled with confusion. I remember Kairos just said that he would marry into the family, right? At the very least, there should be a marriage alliance. What are you thinking? Before everyone could question further, Doflamingo couldn't help but speak. Why did you decide to submit? What about me? What is the meaning of my existence? Why not submit? King Riku asked in a strange tone, Your Majesty's courage is the strongest I have ever seen. What's the problem with submitting to such a man? I believe that under the correct leadership of the king, Dressrosa will definitely experience a leap in development. For this reason, why can't I submit to the king? Doflamingo opened his mouth but couldn't say anything for a while. Yes, the charm and courage of Gilgamesh are definitely the strongest he has ever seen. Is it strange to submit to such a man? Not strange. But aren't you exaggerating a bit too much? You are the king of Dressrosa. Wanting to say something more, but seeing Shiryu and others looking at him with strange eyes, even the eyes of his subordinates were filled with strangeness. What's wrong, Doflamingo? Gilgamesh spoke softly, Are you so dissatisfied with seeing me accept another vassal? The gaze of the crowd was subtle. Yes, although we were prepared for battle a long time ago, why make it more troublesome when it can be easily resolved? Although we also find it inexplicable that King Riku would submit, but... What do you mean? Doflamingo opened his mouth but couldn't speak in the end. It's not too strange for him to have ulterior motives. In fact, among many powerful pirates, he is not the only one with sinister intentions. But what does this display of yours mean? No. I dare not, Your Majesty. Doflamingo gritted his teeth and lowered his head. At this time, he didn't dare to cause any more trouble. Then let it be, Gilgamesh said lightly, This country belongs to me. Yes. Shiryu laughed loudly and nodded one after another. Alirushi and others had an unpleasant expression, but under the pressure of King Riku's gaze, they still nodded. 2.2 So King Riku enthusiastically began arranging the succession ceremony. Doflamingo could only watch with an unpleasant expression as things unfolded step by step. His identity as the former royal family of Dressrosa was useless. Damn it. There must be something wrong here. Definitely something wrong. Doflamingo looked at the figures of King Riku and Gilgamesh with a resentful heart. Is it brainwashing? Threats? Or something else? There must be something wrong here, definitely. Gilgamesh glanced indifferently at Doflamingo and then turned his head away. Just as Doflamingo thought in his heart. There was definitely something wrong with the scene just now. Host. Zhao Shu. Character templates. 1. Uchiha Madara, 83%. 2. Saitama, 71%. 3. Gilgamesh, 57%. 4. Ito Makoto, 35%. Fortunately, the realism has increased a lot. Zhao Shu sighed inwardly. In fact, before setting off for Dressrosa, Zhao Shu had already arrived and was contemplating the next steps. Dressrosa needs to be controlled. Although the artificial devil fruit's ability to provide the system with a large amount of energy and enhance realism like a real devil fruit is still unknown, it is worth a try. Therefore, Dressrosa must be taken. The only question is how to take it. If it were a threatening battle, it would naturally be possible. However, the world government is likely to retaliate, and Zhao Shu himself is not keen on seizing power by force. Moreover, he has already fought the world government using Uchiha Madara's identity, and now he wants to fight using Gilgamesh's identity. He's getting a little tired of it, but if it's not a threatening battle, he would have to listen to Doflamingo's advice and play a conspiracy using his identity as an excuse. However, this is not what Zhao Shu likes, and it doesn't quite fit Gilgamesh's character. So after thinking for a long time, Zhao Shu finally decided that instead of forcefully seizing the kingdom of Dressrosa, why not just let the other party give it to him? To achieve this, he would need other abilities. He won't mistreat them, and the Riku royal family won't have to suffer as much as Doflamingo did in the original story. It's definitely better than their original fate, right? But achieving this goal is not simple. So Zhao Shu searched for Gilgamesh's treasure vault for a long time, hoping to find a noble phantasm that would be enough to achieve his goal. To put it simply, he was looking for a charm-type noble phantasm. Unfortunately, he didn't find anything useful at all. It's not that he didn't find any, in fact, he found 7 or 8 noble phantasms that could charm others. But unfortunately, none of them were usable. For example, the noble phantasm of Sisagu Tuko, the eldest daughter of the Gorgon sistersa goddess's smile. Rank: B-type. Noble phantasm that affects people. Range: 1 to 20 maximum capture. One person derived from the charm of the goddess who has captured countless heroes. Whether it's a seasoned warrior or an upright gentleman, no matter what kind of man, it can kill, conquer them and show you the strongest sweet words injected with love. The sorrowful gaze becomes its blade, and the intoxicated whisper becomes its poison. Damn it, how is it possible for this kind of treasure to exist? For example, Vlad II's noble phantasm, Legend of Dracula. It materializes the image of Dracula, which has been passed down through generations, transforming into a vampire. As Count Dracula, Vlad will seal away his general skills in noble phantasms, but in return, he will greatly enhance his physical abilities, transform into animals or mist, gain healing abilities, the mesmerizing mystic eyes, as well as weaknesses to sunlight and holy seals. However, once this thing is used, it will lose its sanity. No, it can't be used. In fact, Gilgamesh himself also has the means to mesmerize others. The inherent skill that young Gilgamesh possesses, beautiful youth, see. It displays the nature of a lovable beautiful youth. Although it has a magic effect that can mesmerize both genders, it can be avoided through magical resistance. Even without magical resistance, the effect can be mitigated by having a resistant will. But this thing, Zhao Shu would rather die than use it on an old man. So he can only continue searching. There are too many noble phantasms in Gilgamesh's treasury, so many that even he himself can't count them. If we're talking about mesmerizing noble phantasms, there must be some. But it's quite troublesome to find one that can be used without many side effects and is more in line with the character design. After all, the ability to mesmerize is mostly favored by female heroic spirits. As a result, Zhao Shu searched and searched, and finally, in the process of searching, when he faced a mirror-like noble phantasm, he suddenly saw the Rinnegan in his own eyes. Yes, it's troublesome to find noble phantasms in Gilgamesh's treasury, but why not just not use Gilgamesh's abilities? Although Zhao Shu is playing the role of Gilgamesh, he is not Gilgamesh himself. Therefore, in the end, he used an ability brought by the Uchiha Madara template, Distinguished Heavenly Gods. Distinguished Heavenly Gods is the strongest illusion technique in the Hokage world. Its effect is to manipulate others unconsciously and permanently and completely change their thoughts and will. Its power is immense, and each use requires more than 10 years of cooldown time, unless there is Senju Hashirama's chakra to use it again in a short period of time. Originally, only Shisui's Sharingan had this ability, but when Zhao Shu raised the realism of the Uchiha Madara template to 83%, he unexpectedly gained Uchiha Madara's ability. The basic 5 major elemental techniques, illusion techniques, physical techniques. Some skills that Uchiha Madara didn't have also appeared in Zhao Shu's mind. Uchiha Madara was already a master of illusions, having once controlled the 4th Mizukage with illusions, his illusion abilities were extraordinary. With the increase in realism, it is normal to possess distinguished heavenly gods. Although distinguished heavenly gods consumes a lot, its controllability is strong, silently changing others' thoughts, making them panic. As for the cooldown time, Zhao Shu, who already has Uchiha Madara's physical qualities at a level close to max, is not worried at all. The cooldown time is shortened to 3 months, which is not long or short, but completely acceptable. Perhaps when there is time, he can completely control his team. Those powerhouses like Shiryu, although they are strong, they are too individualistic and their personalities are somewhat brutal, making them difficult to control. Zhao Shu, wearing the guise of Gilgamesh, pondered the next steps. The king has already changed, and he has become the king of Dressrosa. So, what's next? Gilgamesh calmly turned his head and looked at Viola, who had tears in her eye sockets, a stubborn expression on her face, and a serious sense of resistance. Let's deal with my maid first. Originally, the order Zhao Shu gave to King Kuliwang was to be loyal to him. However, being too loyal seemed to have turned him into a bootlicker. Looking at him, It feels like if it weren't for his eldest daughter already being married to Julius and even having children, he would probably send his eldest daughter over as well. But in the end, bootlickers have nothing. For example, this one. Violet gritted her teeth, tears in her eyes, and a face full of defiance. She didn't want to be this maid at all. Thinking about it, it's quite normal. She's only 18 or 19 years old now, and she has been a princess since she was a child. Although she's not spoiled, it's still similar. Someone like her being ordered by her own father to be a maid. Gilgamesh suddenly spoke up, "Pour me a glass of wine." Yes. Violet's lips moved, finally responding. But secretly. Do I poison him? Or assassinate him? Or just bite him to death? Zhao Shu looked at Violet, who had turned around. The sound of her biting her own little teeth was harsh, making him sigh inwardly. He didn't need to guess her inner thoughts, he could already figure them out clearly. But this maid is really worth keeping, Zhao Shu sighed inwardly. Not only because Violet is the daughter of King Kuliwang, but also because of Violet's abilities. She is a Paramecia devil fruit user, an observer who can see through all lies. The observer fruit can see through lies and expand one's field of vision, making it twice as practical as a telescope. Although it doesn't have no attacking power, the ability to see through all lies is more important than attacking power. Seeing through lies, how useful is that for future dealings with the underworld? Just look at Doflamingo's actions after taking over Dressrosa, and you'll understand. He knew that leaving King Kuliwang behind would bring some hidden dangers, but he still chose to spare King Kuliwang's life in order to make Violet loyal to him. Because this ability is too useful. Come. Please. Violet gritted her teeth and handed over the wine. Gilgamesh casually glanced at it. The originally crystal clear liquid was filled with poison that looked like flour. She didn't even bother to hide her thoughts. To kill someone, who would use this much powdered poison in proportion to the wine? This is not wine at all, it's clearly paste. You little girl, what a waste. Gilgamesh shook his head slightly. This is a wine treasured by the Shi family. It's a waste to give it to you, Violet snorted lightly. No, Gilgamesh shook his head gently. It is an honor for this wine to be consumed by me. HMPH. Violet coldly snorted and didn't continue speaking. She is now dressed in a black and white maid outfit, with lace borders, a flowing skirt, and a tall and graceful figure, exuding a unique charm. Long and slender legs, slender and round, wearing light purple dance shoes below, emitting a unique charm. Although her face still carries a hint of youthfulness, there is a faint mature charm. If Zhao Shu remembers correctly, she seems to be a professional dancer in the future. Gilgamesh blinked his eyes and suddenly took the poisonous drink from Viola's hand, which looked like paste. Huh? Viola was stunned, and then watched as Gilgamesh drank it all. Wait, you. Although she was determined to poison him, she really didn't intend for Gilgamesh to drink it. Otherwise, who would poison someone like this? Now that she saw Gilgamesh drink it, Viola suddenly panicked. However, the next second, she saw Gilgamesh shake his head lightly and disappear into the palace. Indeed, this kind of wine is not good at all. Maid, don't add anything to my wine next time, you've ruined my good wine. Viola was stunned, her face instantly turning red, she yelled at Gilgamesh with anger. I don't care. I want to add it. I want to poison you. The king of Dressrosa has been replaced. This news spread instantly throughout the world. Although changing kings is not a big deal in various countries, this time, it was the king of Dressrosa, Riku, who voluntarily proposed it. Where else would a king ask to be replaced? But here, it happened. Everyone was surprised and all eyes were on them. Even the world government was in turmoil, but they couldn't say anything to veto it. Riku is the rightful king of Dressrosa and naturally has the power to handle Dressrosa's affairs. Even if they deliberately caused trouble, they couldn't do anything. Although they didn't understand Riku's choice. After Gilgamesh succeeded him, he wasted no time and started governing the entire country directly. He had the skill of leadership, a plus, and was an important talent for commanding large armies and governing a country. Although many former soldiers of Dressrosa were dissatisfied with Riku's abdication, after he made several visits to various military and government institutions, people quickly began to rally behind him. Power was smoothly transferred between departments, and in just a month, without bringing in outsiders, he completely took control of the entire kingdom. Then, without hesitation, he ordered Doflamingo to use Dressrosa's military manufacturing department in the underworld to start trading. At the same time, the most crucial order was for Doflamingo to welcome Mgai Sakurang and start researching artificial devil fruits. Doflamingo's face turned pale, but he had no choice but to comply. This was originally his plan, but the reason he proposed it was because he thought he could carve out a big piece of cake on Dressrosa with his identity. In a room in Dressrosa. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Doflamingo punched the ground in anger, causing cracks to appear. This is not the result I wanted. Gilgamesh was actually very generous and gave a lot of wealth to people like Shiryu who followed him. But how can it be comfortable to be someone's subordinate? Suddenly Aziroa, you seem to have some emotions. A cold voice sounded, and Doflamingo suddenly looked up, his pupils shrinking. CPO. A tall figure, wearing a white cloak and a peculiar mask. Isn't that a member of CPO? CPO is the secret highest-level organization directly under the world government, known as Cipher Pol Aegist, consisting of CP1 to CP9. Within CPO, there are top-tier experts whose strength is no less than that of marine admirals, known as the strongest shield of the celestial dragons. Of course, they are primarily engaged in espionage and intelligence work. What does CPO want with a pirate like me? Doflamingo squinted his eyes, a hint of fierceness flashing in his gaze. Please refrain from making baseless claims. Although you are no longer a celestial dragon, you still possess noble blood. Is it strange for me to appear here? The CPO envoy spoke softly. Of course it's strange, Doflamingo sneered. Weren't you CP9 before? Now that he has become a king, you've come? That's right. The CPO envoy nodded without hesitation. Because he has become a king, your transactions with the world government cannot continue, so we are here. If these words were heard by others, it would surely cause a huge uproar. One of Gilgamesh's Shichibukai actually has a connection with the government? And it's a connection targeting Gilgamesh? Moreover, it's a transaction. Doflamingo took a deep breath, his gaze cold and stern. In fact, among the Shichibukai, his connection with the government is the closest. As a former celestial dragon, he can even mobilize the government's power to make them acknowledge that the newspaper had printed incorrect information. Their secret contacts are countless. He, Doflamingo, is not a man who is willing to be subservient to others. Become someone else's subordinate. What a joke. Do you have any information about Gilgamesh? The CPO envoy calmly spoke, without any sense of oppression when facing a Shichibukai. Because his strength is no weaker than Doflamingo's. No. Doflamingo replied irritably. That guy is nothing but a mystery. Has your government found any information? I do know that he claims to be the 5th king of Uruk, but I have never heard of the name Uruk before. His transactions with the world government are aimed at Gilgamesh. Regardless of what others may think, this man who claims to be the oldest king in the world has indeed stirred the hearts of the world government, or rather, the celestial dragons and the 5 elders. Although the 5 elders did not reach any conclusions after reporting, their private attention has never diminished. If it weren't for the fact that both the Marines and the world government have been greatly weakened recently, it would probably not be an investigation but a direct confrontation. Regardless of whether those words are true or not, killing him is never wrong. I understand. The CPO envoy did not pay any attention to Doflamingo's temper and remained calm. Or rather, they have also investigated Doflamingo's affairs and have some understanding. That man is indeed a mysterious existence. In fact, besides Doflamingo, they have other informants as well. How could the prestigious world government easily believe the words of a pirate? However, the world government originally intended to use the name of the Shichibukai to establish contact with Gilgamesh and gradually infiltrate. Who would have thought that Gilgamesh would not become a Shichibukai, but instead pass on that title to Doflamingo? Fortunately, Doflamingo is an ambitious person and immediately allied with the world government, ready to overthrow his own boss at any time. His bloodline as a celestial dragon makes him trustworthy in this matter. So the world government made a mistake by going along with it. What are you going to do next? Originally, I planned to take the throne of Dressrosa first and then take you to conquer him. Now I don't have this excuse anymore, Doflamingo sneered. He wants the throne of Dressrosa, not for Gilgamesh, but for himself. It's not a big deal, CP0 calmly said. Oppressing celestial dragons is indeed a crime. Forcibly seizing someone else's throne is also a crime. But crimes like these are easy to find if you want to. Now our power is insufficient, we need to recover, so. A glimmer of light flickered in his eyes behind the mask. Let intelligence lead the way. In reality, Zhao Shu didn't really understand the thoughts of CP0 and Doflamingo, but even if he knew, he wouldn't care. Because what he relies on is not some hidden intelligence or righteous reasons. It's strength. As long as there is strength, no matter what he does, who dares to come after him? The 4 emperors don't even need to be investigated, but is there anyone who goes to find them? However, after a while, Zhao Shu unexpectedly discovered the world government's plan. Because, oh my king, she is an outstanding officer I recently discovered. I recommend her to be our liaison with the underworld. Doflamingo praised this officer with his unique voice for a long time. But he didn't notice the puzzled look in Gilgamesh's eyes. Interesting. Suddenly, a smile appeared on Gilgamesh's lips. Woman, what is your name? The woman standing before him, tall and elegant, dressed in a secretary outfit, calmly said, Khalifa. Yes, that's right. This woman is one of the members of CP9, an internal special forces organization of the world government. Originally, she was supposed to be undercover as the secretary of Iceberg, the head of the Galila company, in Water 7. But now, under a series of circumstances, she ended up on Gilgamesh's side. Very good, very powerful. It must be that Doflamingo has some ulterior motives. That's normal, Gilgamesh nodded, and then, to give Doflamingo face, he elevated Khalifa's position and ordered her to become an official in the black market. It may seem strange for CP9 to manage the black market, but in reality, they will go to great lengths to do so. Because if they do their job well, they can advance further and get closer to their goal, Gilgamesh. For this reason, they won't easily contact the world government, and they will even act impartially, working hard to build relationships with others. Even if they suffer a little, they won't complain. Instead, they will do their best to fulfill their duties. Because they want a bigger reward. For example, like Iceberg, when the critical moment comes, they will turn against him and capture Iceberg and Robin without leaving a trace. But in reality, before they truly rebel, they are the most dedicated and capable employees. That's good, this actually helps me, Zhao Shu chuckled in his heart. It just so happens that he has another thing to do. He lowered his head slightly, following the prompts of the system template. Congratulations, host, for unlocking the 5th character template. This character. Perhaps it's more suitable there. Wano country is a rare country in the Grand Line that could have joined the world government but has chosen not to. Most other countries did not join the world government because they couldn't afford to pay the celestial dragons exorbitant fees. But this country is different, it is a closed-off country. It never receives outsiders and does not join the world government, not even allowing marine ships to enter. Due to its treacherous terrain and harsh sea currents, coupled with the strong samurai forces unique to this country, even the world government is unwilling to expend too much effort to conquer it. And the general in charge of this place has already allied with Kaido. They have expelled the Kazuki clan, taken control of the entire country, and built factories. Although everything is still in its early stages and hasn't reached the point of complete dominance, the signs are already emerging. Ha ha ha, kill them. Anyone who dares to resist the general will die. I can't believe they not only resist the general but also question Kaido and his factories. They deserve 1,000 deaths. What used to be a thriving village is now engulfed in flames. Countless men riding dinosaurs or wielding swords laugh maniacally as they pillage and kill. This situation has occurred many times in Wano country. Kaido has established heavily polluting factories in Wano country, exploiting its people and polluting the environment. Countless black smoke rises from the chimneys. The pollution has reached a point where even drinking water from contaminated streams requires medical attention. After all, the alliance between General Kurozumi Orochi and Kaido has lasted for over 10 years, and the Kazuki clan, who once ruled Wano country, has disappeared. The samurai and ninjas who served them have also vanished along with the Kazuki bloodline, leaving only a prophecy of 9 red scabbards, who will avenge Oden and overthrow General Orochi 20 years later. Despite General Kurozumi Orochi's frantic search, he has not found the bodies of the 9 red scabbards, which has become a thorn in his side. However, because of this, he is even more crazed in his search for any remaining Kazuki descendants among the people, including but not limited to the samurai, ninjas, and civilians who were once under the Kazuki clan. This is just one of the countless places that have been destroyed. Did anyone escape? The leader of Kaido's pirate crew, Hold'em, shouted. There's one girl, his subordinate immediately reported. What are we waiting for then? Chase after her, Hold'em laughed heartily. Soon, they mounted their dinosaurs and gave chase. But they hadn't run far when everyone's expressions suddenly changed. An invisible pressure suddenly descended upon them, as if they were carrying a heavy burden, weighing them down. What's going on? Everyone's faces turned pale as they hurriedly held onto their dinosaur mounts. Hold'em's face also showed a hint of seriousness. Something doesn't seem right. This forest. It's intense. Finally, you've arrived. A soft sigh, unheard by the others. The wind gently swayed a bell, producing a clear ringing sound. The members of Kaido's pirate crew formed a defensive circle, drawing their swords. Who goes there? Hold'em's face showed a grave expression. He is the top fighter of the Kaido pirates. Before the Wano country, there was no steelmaking technology in forging, so all the tools were made of wrought iron and repeatedly quenched. Therefore, in order to make a sword, hundreds of sword bodies were prepared in advance and melted together to create a thick blade. Among them, some may break and become scrapped due to factors such as quenching, so often only a few swords are finally made. The most successful work among these few swords is called the top fighter. And within the Kaido pirates, the position of the top fighter is only second to the big shot. Basil Hawkins, the magician with a bounty of 320 million berries in the future, is also a member of the top fighters. With a bounty of 210 million berries and the position of the top fighter, it shows his strength. But now, even with his formidable strength of 210 million berries, he feels a sense of pressure. Are they the orphans of the Kazuki family or the samurai of Wano? Hold'em squinted his eyes and scanned the surroundings. The Kazuki family is also a formidable force, although they were wiped out more than a decade ago. However, it is normal for some surviving samurai who served the Kazuki family to seek revenge against them. The samurai strength of Wano is also not weak. There are always some powerful werewolves. General Kurozumi Orochi's oppression of Wano is strong, so it is also normal for some powerful samurai to be unable to resist attacking them. That's why these strong top fighters are leading the behavior of suppressing and completely destroying a village. Among them, the strongest. Is it you? A voice that seemed like a sigh. This time, it clearly reached Hold'em's ears. He suddenly turned his head and looked up. A man was casually sitting on the branches of a tree. That man had a fierce expression, a scar on his left face, an eye patch on his right eye, and an elegant black and white feather coat that revealed an uncontrollable ferocity. His hair stood up in small bunches, tied behind his head. And at the tip of each bunch of hair, there was a bell? In the next second, a fierce momentum pressed down. The wind seemed to be driven by this momentum, causing Hold'em's hair to sway, and a fierce killing intent swept over him. Suddenly, how long are you going to look over there? Huh? Hold'em was stunned, only to realize that the place he had just looked at was already empty. The crisp sound of bells rang behind him, making him unable to help but turn his eyes back. You're Hold'em, right? The man's voice was slightly hoarse, but it carried a strong killing intent. But strangely, it sounded like everyday conversation. Or maybe, this is just an ordinary conversation. Why do you know my name? Who are you? Hold'em subconsciously asked. The man grinned, revealing a slightly fierce and ferocious smile. Captain of the 11th Division of the Gotei 13, Zaraki Kenpachi. I've come to fight you.